CHistrue here. This is a video addressed to physicists, to recent physics graduates, the people in that field. I want to start off by saying I have the utmost respect for you. I did not pursue the career of a physicist. I wanted to when I was younger, but went other directions instead. I would say that if I had it to do all over again, I probably would have stuck with it. But I went physics, philosophy, here, there, everywhere. So it's a long story, and you're not interested. What you are interested in is what I have to say in this video, I hope. Let me preface by saying I before this video, right behind you, I have, quote, an extremely dumb question for physicists. That might not be up there. I might pull it once I get the answer to it, but you're welcome to take a look at it. However, what I really want to talk to you about in this one is a continuation of a theme that I spelled out in my video, Mathematicians and Social Responsibility, or I think it's titled something like that. It's a while ago. And this is about the military-industrial complex, about the very real reality. No, that's repetitive, but I'm going to say it for emphasis. The very real reality of the world in which we live, the job choices that we have, the range of options that people possess in a supposedly free society. Right now, you're either in college or you've graduated college, but a lot of you are looking forward to careers. And academia is probably not too promising for a lot of you, especially those of you who are applied physicists. You're not theoretical physicists. You are looking for jobs in corporate America. You are looking for jobs potentially in the military. You're looking for jobs maybe in think tanks. I don't know. I think that might be more of the mathematician angle. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but the point is you're looking for jobs in what we would call the system. It was not too long ago that there were great physicists, and there still are, who would stand up and say and take stands for certain political causes. Einstein did. Oppenheimer helped develop the bomb, but then he I wouldn't say he turned against it, but he turned against it because any human being would be against the bomb. But he began to advocate for a sane policy. Michio Kaku, I could go down the line of physicists who stood up, and even though they maybe helped develop certain weapon systems, they maybe encouraged their development, they ultimately wanted a regime of world peace. And you can only have world peace with world freedom. There's no world peace that's just like a world government that tells everybody what to do all the time, because that won't work, because inevitably people will fight over who controls it. The Americans will want to control it, the Chinese will want to control it, the Russians will want to control it, and then it'll just be war all over again, like we're seeing now, okay? And I'm making this video on the heels of a recent apparent North Korean success. So I think it's a very urgent message for the world, particularly for the scientists of the world. And so, continuing, the only possible way that we can really enjoy world peace is through world freedom and through world justice, through social equality. We cannot enjoy world peace through an elite of technocrats and bankers, more or less what we're seeing now, an elite of technocrats and bankers trying to define the world for us. They call themselves trilateralists or whatever they call themselves. I just call them useless. They're useless to the future evolution of our species. They are a throwback, not even to the hunter-gatherer period, because things were relatively equal. Really, that whole model of things is a throwback to the very early anthropoid, whatever common ancestors we would have with the apes. They're a throwaway back. A hierarchical notion of civilization, that there have to be alphas and there have to be lower people. That's not my idea of the future. My idea of the future is world peace and world justice. However, that's not the world in which we live. And not only that, the scenario that I spelled out of the Americans trying to define it, the Europeans, the Arab League, the various civilizational blocks, what Professor Samuel Huntington called the clash of civilizations, which has been encouraged. It's been encouraged to sell arms to all sides. Okay, that's the game. You sell arms to the Chinese, you sell to the Americans. And the military-industrial complex makes money. I mean, that's what all these that's why these countries get all these weapons. But I'm really not making my point here, and I apologize to you. I know you've spent 5 minutes for me to get to the punchline, and the punchline is this. You are going to be living in a world that will demand of you that you make a choice. Do you want to be part of the war machine? And right now, as it is, North Korea just launched, apparently they've had a success in launching something into space. So this is a very real scenario here, where I guess the Pakistanis and the AQ Khan network, and perhaps to some extent the Chinese and the Russians, have been arming North Korea. And now we have the threat, and now the U.S. has to arm to counterbalance North Korea. The same thing probably with Iran, okay? The very same network. And so you have the war being encouraged on both sides, and war is a great way to control the people. And war is a great way to get us to give up more and more of our rights through fear. And is this the world that we want to live in? Or do we want to work for something better? That's my question for you. I'm not going to tell you what career choices to make. I understand the way the world is. We have a job market. We have, your chances of getting into academia are probably about as great as your chances of, discovering the, the WIMP particle or something. I mean, not that low, but not that low. But you understand what I'm saying. The job markets are trim. A lot of you are going to be making concessions to the realities as they are. However, you're going to have to consider the issue of what do you really stand for in life? What are your values? What is it that I'm not against national defense. I know that it's necessary. I know that liberal democracy needs to be able to defend itself against authoritarianism and totalitarianism and that type of thing. I understand that. But you also have to understand that the number one threat to liberal democracy in the West is not really from foreign governments at this point. I mean, look at the surveillance technology developed by physicists, by the way. Look at the weapons technology, the drones. It wasn't developed by, carpenters, right? I mean, let's be honest here. Look at the just all of the technologies that are now being used to undermine our own constitutional rights domestically. That's the number one threat to our freedom. But I also understand the other side here, and that is that it's not like countries like North Korea are benevolent. They've starved their own people. They've thrown whole families into prison camps. So I understand the dilemma here. But what you have to realize is that whatever you do in your future career, you're going to be dealing with the tremendous power of the military-industrial complex. It controls science. It controls religion. It controls the media. It's controlling YouTube more and more and more. I'm noticing a lot of the changes here where channels like mine have less and less. It's a slow change, but I'm noticing it. It's very subtle, but all the changes that they're introducing, you get the feeling that the little dissident channels like this one might not have as much of an ability to operate as unrestricted as we have. But that's, the military-industrial complex is the reality that we're going to be dealing with here. And you might, whatever decision you make to work for the military-industrial complex or not, and that's a matter of conscience, at the very least, what is expected of you morally is when the line is crossed, you have to be willing to speak up. You have to be willing to say, I wish that scientists had said no to radiation experiments in the 50s. I wish that psychiatrists had said no to MK Ultra experiments in the 60s. I wish that more people today would say no to mathematicians and physicists with the NSA would say no to the panopticon, to total surveillance. But the silence is deafening. And at the very least, if you are going to play ball because you have to, or maybe because your sense of patriotism legitimately maybe demands it of you, at the very least you have to be willing to speak up when the time comes. Just like Einstein, just like Oppenheimer, you're expected of the same. Thank you.